Hello and welcome to the 2019 reInvent Recap. I'm actually super excited to be doing this because just last week I was there in Vegas with over 60,000 other technology professionals, where the excitement from not only the AWS announcements, but what you as customers are building on top of AWS was just incredible. That energy and the passion for technology and innovation is really exciting to see. Now, one of the things I love when I'm actually physically at reInvent is not only the energy in the room, but I actually love following what our customers are saying on social media. And I love how we think about how the services are going to be used. Almost instantaneously, customers are coming up with brand new ways that they want to use these technologies within their organizations. So through the talk, you're going to see some of the more interesting social media mentions pop up. And I'm really curious to see how you're going to use these technologies within your own organizations as well. So please share them with us. We love hearing how you're using AWS services. Now, when I think about the types of workloads that customers are looking to run on AWS, combined with modern architectural patterns, a few common observations start to stand out. These are the volume of data and the number of transactions being processed is continuing to increase, especially as we are adding millions of new connected devices. We're going to come back to this topic a few times during this presentation. We're also creating smaller individual services compared to the larger, more monolithic applications that we ran in the past. Now, by using smaller services, this allows us to have faster innovation. It reduces the blast radius of outages by those smaller services not impacting as much within the business, and allows for tighter security controls for each individual service or function. This means that as an organization, you will be managing many more, yet smaller services, or otherwise known as microservices. And these services are going to be highly integrated and intermeshed with each other within your organization, but also with third-party services from outside your organization. So when I reflect on the 2019 reInvent launches and announcements, I tend to group these into 4 different themes. The first of these themes is workloads of tomorrow. These are application use cases that many customers are wanting to build that deliver new capabilities and features. The second theme is around simplifying operations. Where can we leverage scalability, managed services, and modern architectural and engineering patterns to simplify the day-to-day operational management of running workloads at any scale? The third theme, smarter security, providing greater insights and observability to security professionals to help secure and protect applications, data, and ultimately your end users. And then the fourth theme is edge-to-edge connectivity. There were many announcements relating to new networking features as well as new services to help you run your workloads as close to the edge as possible. So let's start with workloads of tomorrow. With over 1 million active customers every month, we hear a lot of requests for new features and capabilities. Many of these revolve around the importance of working with data, particularly at scale. The sheer volume of data is increasing at a rapid rate, and this causes some new challenges in how best to work with data at scale. More and more, I see that customers have their data spread across many different data stores, ranging from S3, for example, as a data lake, through to multiple database technologies and data warehouse reporting systems. One thing I can definitely tell you is that much of the innovation driven with customers is directly linked to the value of insights that they can obtain from leveraging their data sets across their organization. More than that though, it's the ability to leverage data sets from other organizations and how they can share their own data sets with external third parties. Now in November, we announced AWS Data Exchange, which is a new service that makes it easy for you to find and subscribe to third-party data in the cloud. AWS Data Exchange allows you to easily share your data with others as well. Now, as a subscriber to Data Exchange, you can quickly find diverse data in one place, such as access to Reuters, who curates data from over 2.2 million unique news stories every year, or Foursquare, for example, whose data is powered by 220 million unique consumers, 100 million devices, and 60 million global commercial venues. As a provider of data on AWS Data Exchange, you can reach millions of AWS customers. It's the easiest way to package and publish your data products and take advantage of the built-in security and compliance controls. Already, AWS Data Exchange has over 900 data products from over 80 qualified data providers. Well, what about within my own organization? Customers are asking for simpler ways to manage, access, and secure their information regardless of where it is located. As the volume of data grows, it may not be able to reside in any single system, and the costs and complexity of moving this data around can quickly become very high and restrict the value of working with the full power of your data. To help you work and efficiently unlock the insights of your data, we have a number of new capabilities that are available now. The first of these is our new generation of Redshift RA3 instances with managed storage. Now, these new RA3 Redshift instances are important as they allow you to optimize your data warehouse by scaling and paying for compute and storage independently of each other. Now, another feature of RA3 is that it automatically manages the underlying storage and offloads data to S3, our simple storage service that may not be being used frequently, and stores frequently accessed data on local, high-performance solid-state drives within the system itself. As a result of this, RA3 is able to deliver 3 times the performance of any existing cloud data warehouse service through the use of advanced data management techniques combined with the AWS Nitro system. Now, if you're an existing customer using the existing DS2 Redshift instances, by moving to RA3, you can expect 2 times better performance and 2 times more storage capacity for the same cost. You can easily resize this through the AWS console. Not bad at all. Now, one of the challenges with managing massive data sets is that they are too big these days to fit into any single data warehouse cluster, and it can take significant time to load this data from disk each time into your data warehouse environment. Now, to help you solve this, we've pre-announced the Advanced Query Accelerator for Amazon Redshift, otherwise known as Aqua. Aqua brings compute to the storage layer so that your data doesn't have to move back and forth all the time from storage to compute back to storage again. Aqua operates as a high-speed cache layer on top of S3, and it sits between S3 and your RA3 compute cluster, for example. Now, Aqua will provide 10 times the performance of anything else out there, and it's fully compatible with Redshift. Expect Aqua to be available in 2020. And for customers who start using RA3 today, you'll automatically benefit from the performance improvements delivered by Aqua when it becomes available. Now, as part of these announcements, we also announced Amazon Redshift Federated Query. Now, this service allows customers to analyze data across your data warehouses, data lakes, and operational databases. This allows you to run queries across multiple systems and combine data warehouse and transactional data into a single query. For example, real-time sales data may be stored in Aurora, a transactional database, while account history is stored in your data warehouse. Federated Query will allow you to run a single query across both those datasets, and it's available to customers in preview mode today. We've also made it easier for you to integrate your data warehouse with your data lake. We announced Amazon Redshift Data Lake Export, which exports your data to S3 in a format optimized for analytics by other services, using open formats like Apache Parquet. You can use this exported data with such as Amazon Elastic MapReduce, Amazon Athena, or a SageMaker for running AI ML workloads against those data sets. So that covers some of the main announcements relating to managing data. What we also need, though, is we need new compute technologies to be able to process, analyze, and deliver new services to end users. Now, personally, one of my favorite announcements was Amazon Bracket. Now, this was mentioned quite heavily in social media, but this is a service that allows customers to evaluate, test, and run quantum computing workloads. Now, Bracket is important as quantum computing will be orders of magnitude faster for certain mathematical processes and algorithms, such as, for example, route optimization when it comes to transport and mapping, route finding, molecular and material science. Actually, this is one of the hardest problems to solve in the industry today, and what we can model today on classical computing is very simple. And also is going to allow us to model complex systems, such as the human brain. The reality is we live in a natural world, and this natural world is governed by quantum mechanics. And being able to model these complexities is one of the big powers of quantum computing. Now, one of the other challenges with quantum computing is its access to specialized hardware and understanding which approach is going to be correct for which use case. Now, Bracket gives you access to different quantum computers, as well as access to experts from AWS and partners who can help identify which solution will work best. Now, it's just early days for quantum computing, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how this evolves and start solving real-world problems for customers across many industries. We also continue to invest in custom hardware. Now, it's important to realize that by picking the right compute type for your differing workloads, this can bring savings to you of more than 250% cost savings. Now, this is equally important to customers running large fleets, but it's equally important to customers at the smaller end who might only have servers. The services are running 1, 2, 5, 10 services. And these are looking to optimize and reduce their costs wherever possible. Now, in the world of artificial intelligence and machine learning, you have 2 use cases that drive compute requirements. Firstly, you have the training of the models themselves. And then secondly, you have the usage of these trained models, which is known as inference. You can imagine, for example, Amazon Alexa. Every time you ask Alexa a question, she's inferring the meaning of what we're asking. Now at scale, you could be handling millions of interactions per day that's requiring this inference. In 2018, actually at reInvent 2018, we pre-announced Inferentia, which is custom silicon developed by our Annapurna Labs team, the same team behind our Nitro system and other technologies used in AWS. And in 2019, these are now available to customers. Now, Inferentia EC2 instances provide 10 times lower inference latency, 3 times inference throughput, and 40% lower cost per inference than Amazon EC2 G4 instances, which are already the fastest and lowest cost instances for machine learning inference in the cloud. Inferentia is available as an EC2 instance directly, or it can be integrated directly with SageMaker. Now, also in 2018, we introduced a new class of EC2 instances based on the Graviton processor, which was actually the first ARM-based processor in a major cloud provider. In 2019, we've announced the all-new Graviton 2 processors, which offer 7 times the performance, 4 times as many compute cores, and 5 times faster memory, which also that memory includes DRAM encryption that's unique to AWS, helping you secure your workloads in the cloud. Now, these Graviton 2 processors are faster and can provide significant performance improvements and cost savings. For example, when I compare this to our latest generation M5 multi-purpose compute family, the M5 instance class, Graviton 2 offers 20% faster x264 video encoding, for example. Or put another way, 44% faster integer and 24% faster floating point arithmetic. Now on a per core basis, you can get greater than 50% improvements, which can help reduce your per core third-party software licensing costs dramatically. Now I really encourage you to look at how Graviton 2 processors can be used within your organization to help you optimize your compute environments. Now, what this all ultimately means is that there's more choice than ever before for customers when it comes to picking the right compute type for your individual needs. Now, to help you ensure that you're optimized, we announced a new compute cost management structure called savings plans, which is the easiest way to save on compute. Saving plans are a flexible pricing model that can reduce your costs by up to 66% versus on-demand pricing. The savings plans apply to any EC2 instance, regardless of the region they're in, the instance family, operating system, or tenancy agreement. This includes instances that are part of Elastic MapReduce, for example, or our container services such as ECS and EKES clusters. It also applies directly to Fargate. So as good as saving plans are, we also announced AWS Compute Optimizer. Now, Compute Optimizer uses advanced machine learning behind the scenes to analyze the operational characteristics of your workloads, and it will model over 140 different EC2 instance type options to recommend where you may be able to use different EC2 types to optimize and reduce your costs. AWS Compute Optimizer takes this a step further though, and will also recommend auto-scaling configurations based on your CPU and memory utilizations, for example. Now, this makes it easier for you to take advantage of dynamic scaling and how your workload will perform on the recommended options before you implement them. So this allows you to experiment and see what combination is going to be right for you. All right, so wrapping up Workloads of tomorrow, we have 3 new features that help you communicate with your end users in more natural ways, whilst providing advanced management features. First up, we announced in November the availability of Amazon Connect Chat, which provides a seamless experience across voice and now chat for your customers and contact center agents. Connect Chat supports both web and mobile chat interfaces, and it has security built right into the solution where, for example, every chat message can be encrypted end-to-end using a customer's encryption key. So this opens up new areas of innovation where authenticated secure chat could be used with mobile banking applications, for example. Connect Chat also simplifies the handover between a chatbot utilizing Lex, one of our AI services, and to the contact center agent, for example, making that a seamless cutover from a customer perspective, from the automated chatbot to a real human. So not stopping with chat though, we also announced Contact Lens, which is a set of machine learning capabilities directly integrated into Amazon Connect. Now, Amazon Connect is a platform for customer contact centers that now with Contact Lens provides automatic accurate transcription of calls, advanced search capabilities, monitoring of calls for adherence to policies and regulatory needs, And coming soon, we're going to be adding theme detection, for example, which will detect emerging issues and severity of the implications, which allow you to react to these trends by updating, for example, your contact flows and call scripts. Also coming soon will be real-time alerting, where, for example, a customer having a poor experience could be shared directly with a shift supervisor so they can quickly react and intervene as required, whether this be directly with the customer and making sure they had a good experience at the end of the call, or taking up some coaching opportunities with that staff member. Moving beyond Amazon Connect, also our extended vertical integration of the healthcare and life sciences vertical industry through the announcement of Amazon Transcribe Medical. Now, this actually complements Comprehend Medical, which we announced in 2018. Transcribe Medical understands medical terminology that aids in the transcription of medical speech to text, such as you can imagine doctor's notes where they might be just dictating those out, or patient calls. Now, the results of Transcribe Medical could then be fed into Amazon Comprehend Medical to extract medical information such as treatment information quickly and easily. This is going to be really exciting to see how the medical industry uses these new technologies. Now, let's look at some announcements which are helping you to operate technology more easily. As you are all well aware, many modern applications have been moving to use containers in order to improve efficiency and agility, and the vast majority of container workloads run in the cloud are on AWS. One of our more successful services has been Fargate, which is a serverless compute engine for containers and allows you to manage containers at the task level so it's completely serverless. With Fargate, you specify the CPU and memory you need and then upload your container image to ECS or EKS. ECS deploys those tasks for you, and then Fargate automatically allocates the right amount of compute, thereby right-sizing the performance and cost. And there's no servers, no clusters, no provisioning. It totally changes the way that you can manage your containers and allows you to truly take advantage of the elasticity and cost savings of running containers in the cloud. Customers also love Fargate. Actually, every week, 40% of customers adopting an AWS container service for the first time, they choose Fargate. Fargate has been available for the past 2 years on our AWS native ECS, Elastic Container Service, and it continues to grow very rapidly. However, as you're also aware, over the last few years, a lot of people have been using Kubernetes. Today, over 84% of Kubernetes workloads are run on AWS. This is why we launched Amazon EKS, and it continues to grow unbelievably fast, and customers love it for a number of reasons. But we're also announcing Amazon EKS support for AWS Fargate. This combines the power and simplicity of serverless computing with the openness of Kubernetes. With AWS Fargate, there is no longer a need to worry about patching, scaling, or securing a cluster of Amazon EC2 instances to run Kubernetes containers in the cloud. When customers run Kubernetes applications on AWS Fargate, it automatically allocates the right amount of compute, eliminating the need to choose instances and scale cluster capacity yourself. We also announced various new features that help with container management. These included AWS Fargate Spot. This allows you to use spot pricing within AWS Fargate. Spot tasks can save you up to 70% when running fault-tolerant workloads. We also announced Amazon ECS capacity providers. Now, this allows customers to focus more on application scaling requirements, and enabling provides proper association between ECS clusters and auto-scaling, so that changes in ECS cluster requirements automatically cause the underlying EC2 instances to scale in and out more efficiently. We also announced Amazon SageMaker operators for Kubernetes. Kubernetes customers can now train, tune, and deploy machine learning models in Amazon SageMaker using Amazon SageMaker operators for Kubernetes. Customers get the best of both worlds. Data scientists get fully managed infrastructure and tools for machine learning, and DevOps get to orchestrate and manage SageMaker from Kubernetes. We also announced ECS cluster autoscaling. New Amazon ECS cluster scaling features improved scalability and reduced operational cost of running containers. Now, operational management of cloud and hybrid-based environments also become easier with a few key announcements. First of these I'll cover is the EC2 Image Builder. It makes it easier to build and maintain secure operating system images. EC2 Image Builder is a managed service that simplifies the creation and management of virtual machine images, whether they be Amazon EC2 instances, on-premises VHDX, VMDK, and OVF formats. This allows you to do this without the need to write and maintain automation code. For customers across all segments, this makes it easier to conform to compliance requirements using pre-built collections of settings. Image Builder is really going to simplify the management of your image libraries. Now, AWS Lambda has quickly become a foundational building block for a wide variety of use cases for all customers. Now, we announced at reInvent the introduction of provision concurrency for AWS Lambda. Now, this announcement gives you greater control of the performance of your applications by providing a reliable way to ensure functions start responding to invokes within milliseconds at any scale. AWS Autoscaling also supports Lambda provision concurrency, making it easier for you to manage this end-to-end. Now, at the start of this presentation, I talked about this pattern that we're going to be running many more smaller services. Now, when we run many more smaller services, the amount of log data that we generate goes up. This is why we've introduced Ultra Warm, a low-cost, scalable warm storage tier for Amazon Elasticsearch Service. Now, this allows you to store up to 10 petabytes of data in a single cluster at 1/10 the cost of existing storage tiers, while still providing an interactive experience for analyzing logs. This is really important because we want to increase the reliability and availability of all of our services, and being able to model what is happening in these logs and gain insights is really important to that operational excellence that allows for high uptime. So another area that we focused on was database technology. Now, I've already covered some database technology when I talked about some of those Redshift technologies. I just want to cover some more traditional database technologies. Now, again, they're running more services, particularly as we start getting into worlds of serverless and containers, we have more database clients trying to connect back to those databases. This requires larger scale database environments. Also, developers are asking for more choice, and they're looking for embedded AI ML integration directly into the database layer itself. And so the first of these announcements to help simplify this is Amazon RDS Proxy. Now, it's a fully managed, highly available database proxy feature for Amazon RDS. It pulls and shares connections to make applications more scalable, more resilient to database failures, and more secure. By using RDS Proxy, you can get 66% or better reduction in failover times between database nodes. We also introduced, based on developers wanting more choice around the database technologies that work for them, is Amazon Managed Apache Cassandra Service. It's a scalable, highly available, and serverless Apache Cassandra compatible database service. Now, you can run your Cassandra workloads in the AWS cloud using the same Cassandra application code and developer tools that you use today. We also introduced Amazon EventBridge Schema Registry, which is available in preview mode today. Now, what EventBridge is, it's a message bus that allows you to connect third-party systems with your own services inside. And you do this in an event-driven architectural model. That is that as events are triggered, you can look at those events and route them to different systems in your organization. Now, as you increase the number of systems that are tied into EventBridge, you start encountering a new problem, which is the complexity of how the format of these messages are. And this is why we've introduced Schema Registry. It stores event structure or schemas in a shared central location, so it's faster and easier to find the events you need. And you can generate code bindings right in your IDE to represent an event or an object in code. Now, many of our customers run Microsoft workloads on AWS. And what we've been hearing from customers is you want simpler license management. You want central management. We've already had AWS License Manager for quite a while now. And you need migration support to new versions of Microsoft operating systems. Because as you upgrade those Microsoft operating systems, you want to have access to SMEs to help you migrate. By updating the operating system, you get improved security posture. You can reduce the costs. You can remove significant technical debt. You get increased uptime by using newer services. And more importantly, you meet regulatory requirements, particularly in regulated industries. So to help you with this, we've announced AWS License Manager. It's a simplified Windows and SQL Server bring your own license model. We also announced AWS End of Support Migration Program for Windows Server. This gives you access to professionals and AWS subject matter experts that can help you migrate your application workloads from old versions of Windows Server to new versions without any code changes at all. So another area where we've been looking at where we can simplify technology is an incredible world of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And this fits our philosophy of how we want to put the power of machine learning in the hands of everyone. When you think about machine learning, it's really easy to think about it as kind of three different layers. At the bottommost layer, this is our machine learning infrastructure and frameworks. For example, things like TensorFlow. Actually, 85% of TensorFlow workloads run on AWS today. Or you could be choosing to use the MXNet framework, which gives you near linear scalability of your machine learning workloads. Or you could be looking at infrastructure such as our P3 instances, which give you access to 8 NVIDIA V100 Tensor Core GPUs and 100 gig of network throughput, high performance G4 instances, C5 instances, or F1 instances, for example, FPGA-based technology, which is really important in the world of genomics, electronic design automation, and video processing instances. That's that bottommost layer. If you jump to the topmost layer, these are the AI services themselves. This is where, as a user, I want to use the power of artificial intelligence for things such as image recognition or speech to text, text to speech, comprehension of unstructured data. But I don't want to know how machine learning actually works itself. I just want to use the power of it. And these are where services such as Lex, Poly, Transcribe, Translate, Comprehend, for example, they sit at that top layer. But what if I want something in between the two of those? I'm a data scientist. I am quite comfortable working with data. I may be a machine learning engineer who's comfortable with some aspects of machine learning. And I want to have a tool that allows me to quickly and easily identify what algorithms, what methods might be able to work against the data I have, and give me the insights and make it easy for me to start learning about AI ML and applying that within my business. This is where SageMaker sits. It's squarely in the middle there. And SageMaker is an incredibly powerful tool. We made a number of announcements relating to SageMaker functionality at reInvent. We go through 6 of these and talk about the capabilities of each one. Now, SageMaker, as I said, sits in the middle there, and SageMaker allows you to label your data, build the models, train and tune those models, and then deploy and manage these through to your production environments. The first new announcement I want to talk through is Amazon SageMaker Studio. What Studio is an integrated development environment for machine learning. So this makes it really easy for machine learning engineers and data scientists to start interacting within SageMaker itself. The second of these was Amazon SageMaker Autopilot. Now what Autopilot allows you to do is it allows you to automatically build and train models directly within SageMaker itself. The third announcement is Amazon SageMaker Experiments. Now, if you're having the models that you're training and building, I may want to change some of the variables, the data going in, and the mechanisms of how this model works. These are the experiments that we want to run all of the time. And so what SageMaker Experiments allows you to do is allows you to capture, organize, and search every step of these experiments as you run through. Because you'd be running hundreds, if not thousands of experiments across different use case scenarios within any organization. The fourth announcement was Amazon SageMaker Debugger. This allows you to debug and profile those training runs directly within SageMaker itself. So if you're looking at performance improvements, optimization of the training of these models, this is a tool that's going to help there. So the fifth announcement was Amazon SageMaker Model Monitor. This allows you to automatically detect concept drift. Now, when you train a model and you deploy it, it may have been very accurate at the time it was trained. But over time, consumer patterns may change. If you're doing fraud detection, for example, people can be getting more sophisticated and use new ways of trying to defraud services. So you want to be able to detect that and know when is the right time that we want to invest in retraining and updating the model. So Model Monitor is a tool that allows you to do that. And our sixth update for Amazon SageMaker was Amazon Augmented AI. This adds human review of model predictions coming out of SageMaker itself. So combined with these 6 services, as well as the existing services already built into SageMaker, you can see SageMaker is becoming the first choice for many AI ML developers as a powerful tool that allows you to build, train, and deploy your AI ML workloads in the cloud. So our third theme I want to talk about is smarter security. The first area of this is around isolation of our data and workloads. Actually, there's a lot of choice for how you can isolate data. You could go bare metal using things like AWS Nitro, for example. You might be very familiar with virtual machine technology, such as EC2 itself, or using VMware on AWS, or even Firecracker for micro VMs. Or you could be using containers, ECS, EKS, Fargate services that we've already covered earlier in this keynote. Or what about serverless technologies such as Lambda, Simple Queue Service, SQS, Kinesis for real-time streaming, or Aurora Database, a database built for the cloud? Well, I want to introduce a new area of isolation for you. And this is called AWS Nitro Enclaves. Now, what Nitro Enclaves allow you to do is it creates additional isolation to further protect highly sensitive data within EC2 instances. Now, you can think about an enclave. It's a further partitioning within that VM. And this partition or enclave, it has no access to networking, it has no access to storage. And actually the admin user, even if they've got root admin rights, they can't access what's happening in that enclave. This is really important, for example, running in highly regulated markets where you might be dealing with sensitive data, and I don't want to have that data unencrypted where an admin might be able to see it. So what I could do is I could run the processing of that encrypted data within the Nitro enclave. The encryption key will be used within that enclave. Nobody can see it. It'll unpack that data, work on it, and then throw it away. And this is a great way of providing greater levels of security. It's going to be a great use in those highly regulated industries. So another area that we made multiple announcements in is the area around insights. Now, customers are always looking for, they want to see how they can make it easier to see insights as what's happening at scale within their environments. Actually, I want to automatically include new workloads as I add them to AWS within these analytics. And I want to have different metrics and patterns of access, how these different services are talking to each other. And actually, rapid development changes can cause false alarms. So how can you help with this? And so some of the announcements we made at reInvent, first of these is AWS Detective. Now, AWS Detective quickly analyzes, investigates, and it helps you identify the root cause of security findings and suspicious activities. It automatically distills and organizes data into a graph model, for example, so you can see relationships between different services and components. It's easy to use visualizations, are fast and effective for investigation, and it's continuously updated as new telemetry becomes available. AWS Detective is going to be a very powerful tool helping security professionals understand what's happening within their AWS environments. We also introduced CloudTrail Insights, which allows you to identify unusual activity within your AWS accounts. Now, CloudTrail is the first choice when it comes to storing logs and metrics relating to AWS services. And it allows you to see things using a CloudTrail Insight, such as unexpected spikes in resource provisioning, or bursts of IAM management actions, or gaps in periodic maintenance activity. So being able to have this tool is going to save you time from sifting through logs and allows you to get ahead of issues before they impact your business. So another service we help you get insights as to what's happening within your AWS infrastructure is AWS IAM Access Analyzer. Now, Access Analyzer is a great tool to have a look at, for example, the policies and the intended public and cross-account access to resources such as Amazon S3 buckets or AWS KMS keys used for encryption, and AWS identity and access management roles. Now, IAM Access Analyzer, it allows you to quickly analyze resource policies. It allows you to continuously monitor and analyze permissions. Do I have the right permissions? Are there areas that I could tighten up, for example? And it provides the highest levels of security assurance within your organization by being able to measure your actual IAM access policies against the policies of your organization. Now, another area that we can simplify things is actually around storage. And this is what I love about S3. S3 is our first service when we launched AWS, and it continues to have high levels of innovation. And as a result, it's the number one object store in the cloud. It's the number one choice when it comes to data lakes. And for enterprise usage patterns, it's a great choice. There's hundreds of applications within an organization with thousands of users using it. But what we started to see was the customers are asking for ways, how can they restrict access to shared data sets at a per application level? And one of the ways that you could do this was replicating your S3 data around. But again, as data sets became bigger and bigger, that became more time consuming and costly, particularly from an ETL perspective, or extract, transform, and load. So one of the announcements we made at reInvent was Amazon S3 Access Points. And I really love this one because I think this is one of the most powerful ways of protecting your data in S3. What Access Points allows you to do is simplify managing data access at scale for applications using shared data sets on Amazon S3. You can easily create hundreds of access points per bucket, each with a unique name and permissions customized for each application. So this is really powerful. For example, I can have different read and write access points per application, for example, or even per user. This is going to give us more control of who has access to the data and information that we store in S3. Actually, I like Amazon S3 Access Points so much, I'm very confident it's going to become one of the best practices for well-architected applications within AWS very quickly. So let me talk about our fourth theme, which is edge-to-edge connectivity. Now, this is really important because we're living in a world of connected everything. What's driving this connection is a lot of innovation at both the consumer and industrial use case level. And this is really what been called the Internet of Things for a couple of years now. Now, one of the best use cases in this is robotics. And robotics are really evolving incredibly quickly at the moment. But when we think about robots, often we tend to think about robots that look like us, robotic arms, humanoid robots, etc. But actually the definition of a robot that I like to use is the physical device that can sense the environment around it. Based on that sensors, it can think about what it might want to do in response to those sensors and then take action on it. And if you actually use that definition, you'll quickly realize that, for example, one of the most common robots in use today is our dishwasher. It can sense, think, and act on itself as a physical device, or washing machines. And so when you think about the world of robotics, it's very easy to forget about actually everyday items that are becoming quite intelligent. Now, as these devices become really intelligent, they're generating incredibly large data volumes. And at the same time, they're also generating incredibly large transactional volumes. You can imagine if you're a consumer manufacturer and you're creating connected devices and you have 1 million devices out there used by your customers and they're sampling just once a second. That's now 1 million events per second, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week that you're trying to process. This can easily quickly grow to billions, if not trillions of transactions that you're trying to work with on a daily basis. What's also happening as we connect everything together is the processing is being spread everywhere. It's not just being centralized anymore. Processing is happening on the edge, on the device itself, as well as centrally to look at those mega patterns is what's occurring across these millions of devices. Now, one of the things we hear in this connected world from customers is you want more connectivity. And actually, you want more control of traffic routing. You want to have access to global workloads. And you want to use this using multicast routing, for example, or multi-region connectivity. And I want to have secured remote sites. And so some of the services that reflect this is, first up, we have Amazon VPC ingress routing. This allows you to route inbound and outbound traffic through a third-party or AWS service. So this is really important, for example, if you want to use a third-party security appliance, for example, in AWS, where you can monitor what traffic might be going into your virtual private cloud environment in AWS. The second one is AWS Transit Gateway Inter-Region Peering. This allows you to build global networks by connecting transit gateways across multiple AWS regions. So this is really powerful for particularly where you might be wanting to go beyond 5 nines of availability, for example, and using multi-region failover, or you're trying to push content across multiple regions to get closer to where your end customers are. And then thirdly, we have AWS Accelerated Site-to-Site VPN. Now, this is a highly available and improved performance of site-to-site VPN. Allows you to securely connect multiple sites. It improves the performance of your VPN connections, and it's built on top of the AWS Global Accelerated Network. So this is really important again, as many organizations have many remote locations and branch offices. How do they connect these in together to a single unified secured network environment? Okay, so when I think about edge-to-edge connectivity, one of the biggest revolutions happening right now is 5G networking. When you think about 5G networking, a lot of us are focusing on the speed. But I actually want to take a little time just to talk about latency, because this is one of the other great benefits of 5G networking. Now, when we think about wireless communications, actually it started back in 1946 with what's called 0G, or two-way radio. And then this evolved very quickly to first generation of mobile cellular networks in 1979, which was analog packet-based services. Then we had second generation introduced in 1991. Now, what is important about second generation, this is where we got data for the first time. And it also moved to digital processing. Now, best of breed back in 1991 was 40 kilobits per second max. This is actually when we saw things like SMS messaging coming in, for example. Then we saw 3G networking, the third generation, appear in 2001. And the amount of bandwidth we could start sharing went up dramatically, up to actually to 144 kilobits per second minimum. And this is where we started to actually get the power of access to information anywhere, anytime from a smart device. This is where a great wave of innovation unlocked. And then we had 4G, or fourth generation network, introduced in 2009. And this has a big step up in throughput, actually around 100 megabits per second. And so suddenly things like social media, the ability for us to capture video on our phones and upload that from our phones, regardless where we are, this has created new uses of technology that just weren't around even a couple of years before that. And right now in 2019, we're just at the start of the introduction of 5G networks. There's actually a number of sites around the world and the handsets where you can run this. Actually, Las Vegas, where reInvent was held, was actually running one of the Verizon 5G network services right there that you could do. Now, when you think about 5G, there's a big speed improvement in this. Actually, it's got multiple spectrums. it'll allow you to run anywhere from 25 megabits per second all the way up to more than 2 gigabits per second plus. So what we're going to be able to do with this is going to be fascinating to see. But actually, the biggest benefit we're going to get is that we're going to get lower latency. So if you think about the latency today in a 4G network, it's roughly 120, 130 milliseconds to get out of a 4G network. Now, that's fine if I want to watch a video, I want to load a website. But it's not good if I want to do streaming of games, for example, where I want fast response to my movements in game. It's not great if I want to do remote operation of a robot or autonomously controlled vehicle, for example. Or if I want to do remote health presence, for example, where I may be controlling a surgical robot somewhere else using 5G networks. So when you think about 5G networking, the latency we're talking about here is we're talking about reducing it from 140 milliseconds down to numbers where some telecommunications operators are talking about 10 to 20 milliseconds. When you start talking about that level of latency, some interesting use cases start to become possible. What if I'm sitting in a city and I can control a robot in an agricultural smart farm, for example? What if I can control autonomous vehicle being used? Can I do remote science? Can I do gaming streaming services, for example? I'm really excited that I think at 5G, we're just at the start of the next big revolution of internet-based services. But when you think about these low latencies, nothing beats the latency of wire, whether it be copper or fiber optic. Actually, local wire is often less than 3 milliseconds. And this is important. This is why I'm really excited that we announced AWS Outposts. We first announced AWS Outposts in 2018 reInvent. But 2019, they're now generally available. What I love about AWS Outposts is it's a fully managed service that extends AWS infrastructure, AWS services, our APIs, and tools to virtually any connected customer site around the world. It's truly consistent hybrid experience for applications across on-premises and cloud environments. And it's ideal for low latency or local data processing application needs, such as, for example, hospitals, where you want to keep that data and processing within that hospital and not be reliant on network connections. Or financial services industries, where they're looking for ultra-low latencies for trading experiences. Or the mining and resources sector, where they've got remote locations where they just don't have access to high-speed bandwidth with low latency, so having on-site processing is really important. These are all scenarios where AWS Outpost is really going to help. So you can actually order yourself an AWS Outpost rack today through the console. Now, when you order your AWS Outpost, you can actually run a number of AWS services natively on that Outpost because it's built using the same technology and hardware that we use within our regions. You can run, for example, Amazon ECS, EKS, and App Mesh on top. You can run Amazon EMR, our Elastic Map Reduce service. You can run Amazon Relational Database Services, or RDS, within it. And coming in 2020, you'll be able to run Amazon S3 within Outposts within your site. So I'm really excited to see as the number of AWS services continues to grow on top of Outposts and how customers integrate their Outposts with their on-premise systems and services that you're running already today. So it's more than just AWS Outposts though. Another new feature we've introduced is the concept of local zones. Now you might be realizing that AWS we've been operating under the concept of regions, which are collections of multiple availability zones in cities all around the world. But what if I wanted to have an availability zone that was closer to me? This is what local zones are. They extend the AWS cloud to more locations and closer to your end users to support ultra low latency application use cases using familiar AWS services and tools, and you only pay for the resources you use. Actually, the first deployment of local zones is going to be in Los Angeles. And it's going to be used in Los Angeles by Fox. Can you imagine that it'll be an extension of the Oregon region? They're going to use this for video processing, for example, where they've got lots of animators and digital effects and digital artists who want to interact with this video content. And to do that, they need low latency access to vast amounts of storage. But then they'll be able to securely and safely have the bulk of that information running back in the Oregon region, for example. And so local zones is made up of AWS infrastructure at the edge. It gives you local compute, storage, database, and other services. You can connect to services in other AWS regions and allows you to deliver new low latency applications. So again, I'm really excited to see the types of workloads that customers are going to run on local zones. Now, the third announcement I want to talk about when it comes to reducing latency is AWS Wavelength. Now, AWS Wavelength embeds AWS compute and storage inside the telco providers' 5G networks themselves. Now, this enables mobile app developers to deliver applications with single-digit millisecond latencies, again, paying only for the resources you use. So this is AWS infrastructure directly within the 5G networks. Again, provides local compute, storage, database, and other services within that 5G network. It's going to connect to services in AWS regions and going to allow mobile developers to create new mobile app experiences that, frankly, are impossible to do today. So with AWS Wavelength, we already have telecommunications partners working with it today. In the US, we have Verizon. In Europe, we have Vodafone. In Japan, we have KDDI. And in South Korea, SK Telecom. So it's going to be exciting to see how this develops quite quickly over the coming year. Now, I know I've covered a fair bit of information, and actually there's a lot of announcements I didn't get a chance to cover in this hour. So if you want to find out more information, if you go to aws.amazon.com/new/reinvent, it's a great portal that actually lists all of the announcements relating to reInvent. It links to blog articles, video content, white papers, product pages. So if you want to know more, that's a URL I really suggest you go and check out. But you also might be wondering, what are the next steps I should take from this? Well, one of our leadership principles at Amazon is learn and be curious. And I want to leave with you a couple of ways that you can get started easily starting from this. The first of these is actually another announcement we made at reInvent, which is the Amazon Builders Library. This is a library that's publicly available to you about how Amazon, we build and operate software. It includes architecture, software delivery and operations context. It's written by our senior technical executives and engineers, and it gives you real-world practices with detailed explanations. And it's content available for free on the website. This even goes into advanced use cases such as shuffle sharding, or how do I do leader election in distributed systems. Some of the feedback I've already had from customers and developers who've had a look at this is they're really excited to learn from how we've built some of the services that you're using on a daily basis today. And you can find all of this online at the Builders Library. Now, if you're building services, how do I know that they're actually built properly? Well, I'd recommend you to check out the Well-Architected tool. Now, what the Well-Architected tool allows you to do is it measures how you're building your applications, and it measures this against 5 pillars: operational excellence, security, reliability, performance efficiency, and cost optimization. And as you run through the Well-Architected tool, based on your answers, it will recommend and suggest different ways that you may be able to increase and follow best practices within the applications that you're building on top of AWS. So it's going to drive consistency and give you a great technology portfolio running on top of AWS. So another area where you can get started really quickly is not having to reinvent the wheel and start from scratch for your own implementations. We actually have over 218 solutions available at the solutions site at aws.amazon.com/solutions, which are AWS vetted reference implementations. One of the examples of a solution within the solution set is the connected vehicle kit. And so if you're thinking about, hey, I want to get started with what does a connected vehicle look like? What type of data is it generating? What volume is it generating at? The connected vehicle kit is a great way to get started, and you can start having lots of different vehicles running around, and you can integrate this to an analytics environment and start experimenting with what you can do with this data. So I really suggest you have a look at this. It's a great way to get started. If there's something there that's missing, let us know. We're happy to look at how we can build that and make that a repeatable starting point. Solutions are one of the easiest ways to start already 80% build and just customize that last 20% for yourself. Finally, there's some next steps as well. I recommend check out documentation, check out our architectural practices, check out the solutions, quick start process. Most importantly, you can start using AWS and many of the services I've covered today for free. Go to aws.amazon.com/free. With that, thank you very much for joining me for a quick recap of the 2019 announcements from reInvent. I look forward to seeing what you build with some of these new services. And remember, it's always day one. Let's build together.